Hey guys, welcome to the very first Cut Your Way podcast. And I'm very excited for the guest today because probably one of the trailblazers in this space for what you're trying to do, which is an app that he and company that he co-founded. Welcome to the podcast. I want to start off by asking you this question, right? Which is life before TCG or life before founding this app. I know before the podcast you mentioned that you had 3 startups before. So this is not a new thing for you. I mean, the few might be new, but certainly running a startup is not new. So share with me what was like before Collector.
So Malaysia is unique, right?
Yes.
The genesis of startups in Malaysia, I would say, properly began in the early 2013, 2014.
Oh.
Prior to that, we would call ourselves as business people. Nobody would call ourselves a startup. What will be defined as startups is venture funded, ideally technology based. So in 2013, 2014, at that time, there was a huge focus into Malaysian companies being able to raise capital. If you remember those times, that was when Grab was just very early days.
This is like 2012.
2013, right?
There you go.
And even then, I think everybody here knows that it took a bit of a challenge for Anthony to raise money, even at the beginning.
Give me the background that he had.
I mean, the background that he had, obviously, he came back from Harvard Business School, came back, tried to do a MyTaxi at the time. Most Malaysian VCs basically said no to him, other than Kylie from 500, right? And then basically 500 brought him to Singapore, and then Vertex was the one that placed the first big bet with him for Series A. And then, all that's history today. Now, the trailblazer is, I guess, is still Grab or MyTaxi back in the day, because the moment that happened, a lot of Malaysian startups came out. And we raised money from all kinds of wonderful investors out of the region. In my first startup, I started in 2015. It was a company called Be Malas, literally Be Lazy, right?
Ah.
It was an on-demand concierge service. I like the word you said, trailblazing, because trailblazing is a double-edged sword. If you're too early...
First mover advantage, or disadvantage, sorry.
Or first mover disadvantage, right? So we were too early.
Okay, anyways.
We were trying to build what Grab is today in terms of having an ecosystem where you could have anything you want on demand. If you rewind back to 2012, 2013, MyTaxi was basically a taxi hailing service. We were trying to build an on-demand concierge service for anything 24 hours a day. You could ask for food, you could ask for someone to buy you an anniversary present. So the immense effort to have a servicing team, a roving team that goes out and looks for these items, the team that sort of handles requests, massive task. But I was fortunate enough that for some reason the idea seemed so grandiose.
Mm-hmm.
I raised $500,000 in less than 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah, met a VC, never met him before. He's a good friend of mine now. A guy named Koichi Saito, a Japanese investor. At that point in time, he just started his fund called KK Fund. He said, look, I love the idea. I love the founding team, because we came out from Groupon at the time. So Groupon was one of the first big tech companies other than JobStreet that came out of Malaysia. Because Groupon, imagine this, in 2013, 2014, Groupon Malaysia's revenue was 300 million ringgit a year. And this is the days before Lazada's, before Shopee's. And this is essentially, I think at that time, ringgit was what, 3.1?
Good old days.
$100 million a year business, right? So Malaysia's genesis and zenith of startups started in 2014, 2015, right? Now, fast forward to today, you've got, of course, the big giants, which is Kasem, which is now the only unicorn in Malaysia. There's officially a Malaysian unicorn. Also, interestingly enough, Eric and JT, the co-founders of Kasem, are also my angel investors to Collector. So I've got a bunch of good friends and investors who came for the angel round, who believes in not just building the next, ideally, unicorn. I mean, I don't like the name unicorn because that gives a wrong misnomer. You're chasing valuations. You want to build value, right?
That's right.
But also in giving it back. How you build an ecosystem is successful entrepreneurs give back to the next generation who want to build the next big thing. So I guess we are now seeing the full 10-year cycle. You're seeing a lot of successful entrepreneurs.
The first gen guys.
They call it the mafias, right? So the American mafias started with the traitorous 8, right? The guys who left Intel to then start Apple and all this stuff. Basically, started Sequoia Capital, right? And then you've got the second generation mafia, which is PayPal.
Right.
Elon Musk, or
Peter Thiel. Yeah.
For Malaysia, there's 2 main mafias that come to mind, at least to me. I would love for the audience to correct me on this. JobStreet Mafia, the Mark Changs, the Malik Ali's of the world who started BFM, right? And then, of course, the Groupon Mafia, Kylie, Joel, Rafiq, Chen Chao. All these guys left to do big things, and at the time I was one of them who went out and raised money. There is only a matter of time before the next one or two mafias come out again, and when that really starts to take off, the flywheel effect will begin, and you see a bunch of new entrepreneurs coming out making great new ideas.
Right.
So a bit long-winded answer to your question, but sort of wanted to lay a stage in terms of where we
the
are.
history,
The industry of because startups in and of itself is a very, very, very significant industry in the US, in Europe. Malaysia is there. But of course, we're always seen as the stepchild to Indonesia.
Yeah, because our market is small, fragmented.
No, but our
the
GDP
usual.
see, we're not fragmented. If you think about it, yes, people argue with you.
Well, at least that's the perception that people have. But correct that perception, right?
Okay, so a lot of people will say in Malaysia it's very hard to do ads. If you do ads, you got to do it in Malay, Chinese, Tamil, and English. But the truth is, if you look at content today, and you're in content, MJ, you would know this better than me, Malay content travels across. It doesn't matter what race you are. You do Malay content, anybody will watch that content.
That's true.
English may be a bit tricky because the hinterland may not be able to consume it easily.
Indeed, yeah.
But in Malay, every single city, every single state in town can watch it. So the question now is, how do you market it better? So to say we're not a homogeneous market is not true. Almost everybody who, if you're born Malaysian, can understand, at the very least understand Malay.
Yeah,
Betul,
exactly.
right? You can. So I think we are missing, first point, that we are a homogeneous market. We should correct that perception. Second, we are also a very, very, very decent GDP per capita market.
Yeah, we only lose out to Singapore and Brunei in this region, and Brunei doesn't really count because it's a kingdom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So I get very, very, very annoyed when someone says, yeah, but Indonesia is 330 million population. Jakarta alone is 40 million, the size of Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree. But you know this better than me because you're in the finance space, right? The credit card penetration rate in Indonesia is 11%.
You're right. There are a lot of unbanked people. So
Yeah, unbanked, not even underbanked.
yeah, so don't talk about plastics, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas for us,
Very high.
everybody has a debit card. Almost. Credit card may be different, but debit card almost everybody has. And why this is important is because when we launch Collector, because it's a live bidding app, you're bidding in the milliseconds, right? You need to have a card, whether it's a credit card or a debit card, pre-authorized for you to be able to bid. If we don't have that kind of...
Oh, sorry, both debit and credit. Either
debit or credit.
Right, okay.
Because we have to pre-authorize it, right? Whether it's a
Yeah.
Visa, Master or...
And you need to. I know an article about a year ago said that you all take identification very seriously. So is that part of your identification plan?
As a buyer, we don't go in depth in terms of your identification because if you're a buyer, guess what? If you have a credit card or a debit card, the bank would have done the authorization for you.
That's right.
And if it's a suspicious transaction, you and I both know it'll get flagged. So the gateway will flag it for us, and that's the onus on them, which is fine. We pay premium to the gateway to make sure that there are no suspicious transactions. For the seller, we are very rigorous in terms of making sure that you are selling first and foremost. Look, we all know this, right? Not just in Malaysia, but I'll use Malaysia as a unique example because we're Malaysians. How often you get annoyed when someone says, okay, bro, I want to buy this product. You PM someone on Facebook or any other platforms or WhatsApp. Then you can FFK.
All the time?
All the time. It's so annoying, dude.
Or backtracking on the terms.
Oh, that's another one. Hey, bro, I agree to this price. What to do, boss? Price went up, what? So Taka want to sell you at that price.
Yeah.
I mean, and I see a lot of flame posts happening again and again and again,
All the
especially in the TCG, since you're talking
All
about
the
TCG
time.
today, right? And I think it's something that is not unique to us, obviously. But what is more annoying to us is in the US, they don't really use eBay. Maybe eBay is great, fine and well, but most of them, they use Craigslist because they look for diamonds in the rough. Because that's when they do all their bargain basement hunting or what do you call it? Car boot sales, right? In this part of the world, everything is still very much driven by community, whether it's on a Facebook group or whether it's word of mouth, right? There's a lot of treasures that came to us when we started Collector because a lot of guys come to us and say, I thought this is trash. I didn't know this one got value. And it's interesting because of the fact that we grew up in a generation where our parents were very concerned about putting food on the table, right? At the time that you're talking about, Malaysia went from an agrarian or agricultural economy to an industrialized nation in the early 80s, right? And you're talking about, okay, I'll give my children some toys because I can afford a couple of toys. But that's it, they're toys. They don't know the value of toys. We basically only probably saw those things in those time ever, right? We basically only had TV Pendidikan in the 70s. Only the American and Japanese cartoon came in the late 70s, early 80s, right? Voltage 5, and then your cool stuff like Thundercats. Now, the pop culture phenomenon is very, very big simply because if you look at it, you can probably put a kind of measurement between late 70s, the Star Wars phenomenon, maybe all the way up to the early 2000s. We do not touch the early Americanas, the 50s, the baseballs, because guess what? We don't.
Yeah, we don't. We're not
watch.
interested. Yeah.
We never got American football the way they did over there, right? So those sports cards are not. Well, I'm not saying it's not big. People do buy basketball cards. There are a lot of guys who collect baseball cards.
For sure.
But there's no secondary markets here the way they would have in the US. But if for us, and for Southeast Asians in general, if you think about it, most of us, I'm sure this is not a horror story that's unique to me and you. Parents threw away their toys, threw away their comic books, threw away their trading cards. Because guess what? These are just paper, what?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've got magazines, our parents would have said, we've been buying for 10 years, there was nothing. And lipas come and eat only. Right? So I don't want to keep cards in storeroom where literally, snails and lipas and lipan will come and eat, right? So it's sad because of the fact that, one, the collectible culture for us, what is sad is most of us would have either lost them through the fact that we moved houses and our parents threw them away, or you didn't care about it, gave it to your friends. I see.
Or you thought it was a deal back then for 50 ringgit.
Betul,
Yeah.
right? No, I hear a lot of stories come and say, oh man, I sold it off for this much, right? Or I thought I'm never going to come back. Or I thought this game was never going to be longer than 5-6 years. Or for that matter, comic books, right? I thought, no lah, I mean, it's nothing special, right? So the term that I think these finance gurus call them are kidults. Kids who are now adults, who want to go back and relive the nostalgia moments, which is why you're seeing a huge trend bucking in terms of collectibles. I think trading cards are like 33 or 34% year-on-year growth, right? In terms of your asset class. I'll call it an asset class. I mean, of course, you can correct me because you're the finance guy.
Well, yeah, I think it can be.
It can be. It can be, right? So I think what is really, really important is the fact that we need to, as Southeast Asians, not just Malaysians anymore, to finally set a firm position in terms of, yes, we measure to the US. All our prices are measured either to Japan or to the US because that's the biggest market. If we have enough trading data amongst ourselves, and this is not just for cards, anything collectibles, we should have at the very least saying, hey man, I sold this particular product or item for this price. That was the last sold price. We should at least be measuring at that as a comparable.
So I have to ask this. When did you realize this part of how, you can turn culture into something, into money, basically?
When I was 6 years old. So this is ironic, right? So when I was young, I knew comic books was something collectible because I was the youngest of 3 siblings, or 4 lah, I was the youngest, I was the 4th. My second brother was a huge comic book collector. And he was, 9 years older than me.
So this is which era? This
was 87, 88.
Okay.
88.
So I'm thinking, was that Peacemakers, things like that?
I mean, I only read Marvel at the time because I like.
Okay.
I follow. I mean, at 6 years old, you're not going to follow stories. You follow art.
Yeah.
So that was the Jim Lee era, and I love Jim Lee. I mean, my favorite artist now, Jim Lee, CEO of DC. So big deal. But back then, it was a Marvel stalwart, right? Mainly drew X-Men. And I would buy a comic book, and at that time, you'd have to go and essentially pre-order comic books, and they put it in your bag. So in the comic book stores, you have a bag with your name on it. Every time you order, it arrives, it'll be in your bag. You got to pick it up in a week or two, otherwise they'll call your mom. They literally will pick up the phone and call your mom or dad. So what happened was scarcity. So I was 6 years old. I'll buy 1 or 2 comics, and then I realized, hey, every time I buy this comic, a couple of weeks later, someone wants to buy the comic from me, right? So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So I started making multiple copies of a particular comic. Started making some money, right? Selling to my friends.
Do you remember the numbers? Like, say if you gave for 10, but what could you sell it for in 2 weeks' time?
Triple the amount easily.
Wow.
Easy.
Wow.
Because in comic books, there's first print and second print. So first print is usually one and done. Second, third, fourth print, they can reprint it. The comic's hot, they reprint, but they will say second printing, third printing, fourth printing. So subsequent printings will be lesser and lesser and lesser in value, right? So it came to a point that I think my mom said, stop doing this because I don't want their parents to call me and saying I'm scalping this and selling to the kids. But I realized, okay, this is very interesting. Comic books is a commodity, right? So I was collecting comic books all the way until I was 10 or 11 years old. My brother till today collects comics. He's almost 50, never stopped. So he's got a massive collection of comics. By the age of 10 or 11, it was 1994. 93 was when I first came across trading cards. So Marvel launched this thing called Marvel Universe. So Marvel Universe was a bunch of trading cards that in of itself would just show let's say Spider-Man in front, and at the back it show power, height. It's just cool stats, right? But what was cool about that was if you sambung all of the cards together, and you need to buy more than one box lah.
Then you get a nice
huge panorama.
Right.
I'm like, wow, cool. There was no trading card game. It was only collectible cards at the time. CCG, right? Not even a game, really. And then I remember going to the comic book shop and saying I wanted to buy the next box. And the lady says, hey, do you want to try this new game called Magic the Gathering? I'm like, what the hell is that?
Okay.
Right? In 94, I'm like, I've never heard of this game. You know, it's a game. You can play with the cards. Cannot just see. And then she showed me the art. And I'm like, I don't know any of these people. They're not Spider-Man or Cyclops or Professor X. I said, okay lah.
But the art is a bit different from what I used to, so maybe you give it a go.
I mean, if you ask me back then, I said the art was, I'm going to be crucified by all the Magic fans out there.
Yeah,
art was pretty crap for me back then.
Right.
Today, of course, walao, I love those ala. It's nostalgia, right? But back then, I'm like, here am I looking at, all these muscular men and, pretty voluptuous women. And then here I am looking at pentagrams and shit, right? Like, Magic was that back then. I mean, the pentagram was banned after a while because parents were complaining in the US.
Yeah, because of the demonic...
The demonic,
symbols.
yeah, demonic symbols.
Right.
So, what was interesting was because of the fact that back then, in 93, 94, because I was a huge video gamer. So before I went into comics, at the same time, in parallel, I was buying every single console that came out. So I was everything from Mega Drive. I was a Sega boy until I bought into Super Nintendo in 94. And then basically, I had Nintendo, I had Sega. I mean, I still play video games till today. Not as much as I used to when I was a kid. So
It's just different nowadays.
It's different, right?
You feel a bit guilty, when you turn it on 1 hour in.
Right?
I don't know if you get that feeling as well.
I don't get that feeling playing trading cards today because I get to socialize with
That's
someone.
true, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be on a mic and yell at someone, across the pond, but...
Who is like half your age.
Yeah, right, exactly. But when I was playing trading cards back then, I was thinking, okay, but rather than spend a couple of hours playing cards, I could finish Final Fantasy 3, Because I would want to play something without having to depend on someone else's time, right? So I did enjoy playing trading cards, but, you're young, you're 12, 13 years old, you got to go out and play means someone's going to drop you. Versus just staying home in your room playing video games. But that being said, I would still play. So my relationship with Magic the Gathering was on and off for a while. 94, 95, we'll play a bit. I really started playing fully into Magic in 97. I remember the set when I came back was either Tempest or Urza Saga, which is one of the best sets today. And I played for another 2 to 3 years. Then I stopped again. So it's on and off, right? Because you're going through your primary school to your secondary school to college, right? So your life kind of changes.
Did it reach a point where you felt, if I keep playing this into my late teens, I might not get a girlfriend?
100%.
Right?
100%. So I think I broke up. I stopped playing because I had a girlfriend. So I stopped in 97.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be seen as a geek. And at the time, I had a rock band and I'm like, this. I don't want to be playing cards, man. That's like more cool. See, that's the thing. I mean, the saying, right? The world belongs to the meek or the geek. True enough. Because had I not stopped playing, I would have amassed an even larger collection. I mean, I've amassed a large collection by buying things back. But imagine if I paid 8 ringgit a pack back then and basically got all my sets.
Good old days, yeah.
Yeah, right? So, but nobody knew it was going to be worth anything, really. I mean, we knew that the cards were expensive. At that time, I remember I used to buy this magazine. So for comic books, you would refer to Wizards. Not Wizards that made Magic, but it's Wizards. It's a comic book sort of directory to see the prices, as well as they sort of cover things to do with comic books. And it's basically an article to hype up books. For Magic the Gathering and trading cards in general, it was either Inquest, which is a trading card based, pricing or price charting. And I remember back then the day I was like, wow, Black Lotus is $250, so mahal, man. I mean, fast forward to today, it was sold at $3.5 million last month, right? But you wouldn't know this.
Yeah,
if someone were to tell you back then, this is the Back to the Future moment, someone gave you an almanac and say, go and buy 15,000 Black Lotuses, I would have done it. So you wouldn't know.
Before that, was Pokemon in the conversation? Was it something that you...
So I did play Pokemon, because Pokemon came out in 99.
That's right.
So you know how I played Pokemon is funny, right? So back in the day, you wouldn't get... Okay, today, it's not alien to have a particular TCG launch a set every 1 month or every 2 months. It's so furious now, you can barely keep up.
Yeah, I think it's at least, I want to say 4 or 5 a year.
Yeah, Magic is almost 1 every month now. Yeah. But back then, Magic was once every 3 to 4 months. And whenever a pre-release comes out, it's so exciting because you waited so long, you're reading all the previews. So in between, I'm like, boy, I want to still spend money. Maybe I want to play something in between. Because your meta doesn't shift, right, for very long because sets come out so long, right?
Right. Oh, before that, since you talk about money, at that point in time, you would have started working yet already, right? So how do you convince the number one VC, which is your parents, right?
Okay, so this is how I like the question because at that time my parents were my financiers. I also had a soft loan from my friends who basically I tapao food from them. I just take from them at school, so I didn't use my allowance. every dollar that my parents would give.
Wait, you tapao food for them?
I mean, I tapao from them.
From
I
them?
went from them.
Oh, you text them?
Text them, I
Okay,
text them. So makan lah, they take nasi lemak, I just take half and makan with them, you know. So I made sure that
Yeah,
every
your
dollar-
friends must have been quite skinny.
actually true lah, if you think about it.
Huh?
One of them now is the head of HSBC in Hong Kong now.
Yes, huh?
Right? Yeah.
Okay, anyways, continue.
Yeah, but clearly still skinny, man. I must have taken a lot of food from him. But my point is, back then, friends of ours, whether you save money because you want to spend money on football or arcade games, or in my case, trading cards, I would try and skimp as much as I can to save to buy. So one pack at a time was 8 ringgit, but near my school, they would charge 10 ringgit. But because it's near my school, no choice, I cannot go and, I don't have a car, right? So I pay lah. So I buy between 4 to 5 packs a week. Back then. That's what I was thinking. To buy a $250 Black Lotus is impossible, right? Would I buy a 1,000 ringgit card, which I can never convince my parents, or go out and buy a PlayStation, which was 1,000 ringgit then? A PlayStation they can understand. A card for 1,000 ringgit, like what are you doing here, boy? It's a card, right? So, but how would you even convince them otherwise? Even if you tell them this is going to be worth 3 billion X in the next however many years, the truth is, there was no guarantees. Whereas a console, in your head, I tak nak main, I just sell it off lah. I lose maybe half of the price, but got value. As a child, and this is the problem with hobby like this, if you are young, 9 times out of 10, you either get cheated by other more experienced players who tend to be older and take advantage. And knowing that you don't have the capacity to spend, they're like, yeah, bro, this guy you don't want to play what? Sell to me lah for 100 ringgit. So if you don't know the price and you're new, and this happens to a lot of the guys in the hobby, 100 ringgit, I only paid 10 ringgit for the pack, take ah. And when you find out many, many years later, and you will, because you don't forget these moments, right? You're like, shit, at that point in time, the card was worth 400 ringgit. I got cheated. So I think it's an advice to people in the hobby, don't think that you can take advantage of kids today and think they won't remember it.
Do you think that that's a part of Collector, the app and the community that you can add, where there's like a BS detector, for these sort of individuals, and you flag them, and
You don't have to, because the market decides your price.
True.
Even if you're a
True,
child,
yeah,
even if you're a child, you put the card for 3 ringgit. If the market knows the price, they will bid it to the closest value that you'll get in the market.
Right.
So you're not going to get shortchanged unless you choose to shortchange yourself. And there are some of our sellers or streamers, they actually don't care. Don't bid higher lah. I'm giving this as one of the streamers that we had who was now working with us as an intern. Basically, claim to fame was he was selling his Magic cards, old vintage cards, by the kilo at 3 a.m. He will only do at 3 a.m. He says, if you all get it, you're lucky lah. To him, it's content, right? Literally by the kilo. Nah, bid kilo. You don't know what's in there. I mean that in and of itself is entertaining for him, but also entertainment value, right? But that aside, the outlier aside, the truth is we all, in some way, shape or form, from our childhood to our adult age, confirm gonna con at least once or twice.
Oh,
But people
100%.
take advantage.
100%.
Yeah.
Convincing parents is one thing and all that, but my question to you is, okay, yes, you knew it was going to be valuable, right? You had all these experiences to inform you of the total addressable market, right? But knowing that is one thing, taking the leap to start a company to facilitate this is another. When was that moment that you say, no, I need to get into the game in a much bigger way?
So, as you mentioned earlier at the beginning of the interview, is more of the previous startups I've done was also to do something that I think there was a huge gap in the market and I wanted to solve. Whether I liked doing it, that leaves a lot to be desired, right? I don't even know whether I like doing it. I like the fact that it was a big market, something I can address, something that people can understand, and they can raise capital. This is the first startup / company I've done that I'm not just passionate about, but I have, what is that, book outlier? When you put enough hours, you're an expert.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Malcolm Gladwell, right?
10,000 hours.
10 or
something like
20,000
that.
hours, right?
Yeah.
So I put in the hours to understand multiple categories of collectibles because it is a passion that is driven by a physical item that you can keep, that appreciates in value, that you can also view and see and play. Example, trading cards is one thing. Comic books you can read. I collect guitars too. Not because of the fact that I'm a musician, right? But also because I know what to collect and how it appreciates. And they're liquid. Because the truth is, money in your bank is never going to appreciate, right? I mean, you earn your interest, but your inflation is going to beat you from whatever
Yeah,
you're earning anyway. But when I buy a guitar, and guess what? Let's say I spend, say, 10,000 ringgit on a guitar, and 5 years down the road, I've played with it, I've enjoyed it, and I sell it for 15K. Right?
Not too bad, yeah.
Not too bad, right? So everything that I buy, maybe it's a bit weird. I never saw it until I started a collector. There was always with an eye for it to retain value, at the very least. Retain value. If you appreciate, it's fantastic. It's not like Bitcoin today, man. Everybody's lost their hair, right, in the last couple of days. Not to say that a lot of people made money from Bitcoin. I'm sure a lot of people did. But a lot more retail investors lost money because you don't understand what you're buying.
Yeah, the nature is that.
Which is what you probably sort of advise people.
There are more losers than...
They're more losers, right?
Yeah.
So in the case of when we did the app, we wanted people to unlock the value of their collectibles and not rely on some expert. Let the market decide the value of your product.
True.
So then it's almost like a crowd that gives you the true valuation of whatever junk that you think you may have had that turned into a treasure.
Right. So, okay, so you get into the business and you believe in it, but you now need to fundraise, right, for this venture. Just two questions on this. How do you convince your VCs? I know some of them are your friends, right? You mentioned Kasem.
I mean, the first round were friends.
And then I think there's a first move.
First move.
That's one.
Yeah. But to be fair, Joel's, I mean, I've known Joel for 10 years now, right? So yes, while they are a VC, but also there is an element of trust.
I'm just very interested in the conversation with them, right? Where is it the case where they believe in your vision or they believe in you, right? There's like, I trust Adlin, right? So I don't quite get it, but I can see when he talks about Magic the Gathering, something
he knows
lights
his
up.
stuff, yeah. So if you ask them, it's the former, right? They will say, but to be fair, in any angel round for any company, it's mainly the trust in the founding or the founding team.
Yeah, that's right.
That being said, I will never ever forget the fact that while I'm eternally grateful for the fact that my friends backed me in the first round, the angel round, right?
Yes.
And a bunch of friends also came for this round that we're doing, it's imperative that we've done the business in a manner that is significantly impactful. The revenue is there to prove it. The market has accepted it. Our users love it. I personally use it myself to buy things from other users.
Right.
That there is a real need for us to, at the very least, if not cover a gap, educate the market in terms of a new potential asset class, right?
That's right.
And it's something that is unique because you're allowing people, okay, so forget about the fact that, look, in the last year or so, the trend of people box breaking is becoming common. TikTok does it a lot. In the US, Whatnot, of course, the one we sort of got inspired from, does it a lot. And if you look at that particular segment, all of a sudden people who were literally delivering food could now stay at home, take care of their family, crack boxes, and not having to go in the sun and the rain to deliver food. I'm not saying that we don't need those people. We do, because we're grateful.
It's an option, right?
It's an option. They have an option.
Yeah.
They finally have an option. Yeah. And you're seeing a lot of these guys who are doing this, earning a decent income. And you're at home doing it.
Yeah.
So if your child is suddenly yelling or crying, hey, sorry guys, I'll be back, turn off the stream, handle your child, 10 minutes later you're back in, right? You're at home. You're empowering them to be your own, your destiny is your own to decide, while you can be anywhere to stream. You can be home, you can be on holiday somewhere and stream. I mean, dude, there was one stream, I think you can find on Collector. The guy was streaming in a cave, bro. Legit.
I feel like I've heard this story, okay, but anyways.
Yeah, he was streaming in a cave. So he was streaming in a cave. And it was ironic because it was the launch of a Magic set that was about dinosaurs. So it was called Lost Caverns of Ixalan. So it was literally streaming out of caverns, so thematic. So my point is, you can make...
This is a Malaysian guy or it's
Malaysian guy.
Wow.
So they did it on Collector. I've got a bunch of our streamers who are now friends of ours who will go to Japan, stream for 4 or 5 days, paid for their trip.
Oh, you paid for the trip?
They paid for their trip by streaming.
Wow.
They sold enough products that paid for the trip and made profit some more.
Amazing.
Because of the fact that I think that's on the, I would say, the retail or primary side of the business, where you're cracking new products or old products which are sealed and people are chasing the thrill or the dopamine hit of trying to get a chase card, right? And that's fine. Everybody loves that. On the flip side of the collectible market is, and the true value of a collectible is scarcity. If you look at the Netflix show that became famous the last couple of years, Goldine, right? King of Collectibles, he became famous because he can find you things no one else can. And that is not just in terms of stratospheric products, which are millions of dollars value, in value, But also things that, for example, let's say you grew up. What toys did you play when you were growing up?
Let's start with the Happy Meal from McDonald's.
Okay, so Happy Meal was free, but it may have some nostalgic value to you. So if
Yeah.
someone could find you, look, a Happy Meal is a free toy to begin with,
Yeah.
but people pay
yeah.
just to have a sealed sort of
and
but-
to complete
complete the set, right? So, for example, there is a huge collection of people who buy Starcom, which is a big cartoon in the early 80s, Mask, which is again 80s, Thundercats, of course, everybody knows lah. And these guys are willing to pay a premium to have it boxed, even if the box is damaged. Now, the question is not so much of whether they can pay, it's whether you can find it. And even if you can find it, guess what? The guy who's holding on to those is probably a collector himself, and he's not willing to sell.
unless
Unless it's a crazy amount of money, right? Now, this is where it's a very thin line between what is reasonable, meaning that I'm willing to sell to the best offer, versus why do I want to sell? I don't need the money, right? And that's when it's harder and harder and harder to find and source products. So that's where the best and most exhilarating part of this business is, to be able to match something that you cannot find anywhere else. We can, and then we connect those two dots.
when you raise money, what was the process like of thinking how much to raise? I saw first move they not announced, it was in the article, they said the average investment ticket was something like $100,000 US. But for you guys, are you at liberty to share how much, and also like what's it for?
We can share the first round, the first angel round. I think we raised slightly over 400,000 US.
Okay.
This round is significantly bigger, so this is 7 figures already in US dollars, but also because the traction has been significant, right? So the first round in any business, so this is more of a startup conversation.
Yes.
In any startup, when you raise, the idea is to raise enough capital to be able to deploy your MVP into a functioning model where you have, at the very least, real traction. Now, you can define traction anyway. If you are not a revenue-driven business, say you are doing content, like for example, let's say you were doing TikTok back in the day, you can't charge anybody because you need the critical mass to adopt, then you start selling ads, right? So every business, of course, is different. In our case, we knew from day one we wanted to do a business that was commercial in nature. People were buying, people were selling, we charge a fee for the transactions, and we wanted to make sure that we could at the very least have a runway that would last us longer than a year. And we've done that. So the amount that you raise for us was to last for at least 18 months, and we've gone about there. And that should be the minimum number of months you need to raise money. At least do 18 months.
Right.
Not because of the fact that if you can turn your business to profit in 12 months, more power to you, fantastic, go on, build that. But the reason why we say it's usually a unwritten rule that's 18 months is because the next round will take at least anywhere between 6 to 12 months to negotiate, to pitch, to show your growth, for them to keep tabs on you, to keep giving report to them. So you need that breathing room.
Fair enough. I don't want to turn this into a business podcast, so I want to get back onto the app. And I think people are just there to look at it, to get the dopamine hit. People are paying the merchants themselves, people who are selling, buyers and sellers. And the investors will ask, right? You can do this on TikTok. You can go on TikTok.
100%.
You can go on many different platforms, right? Why would they want to go on Collector? I think that's definitely a question.
100%. I think, look, TikTok is first and foremost a content platform. And this is not from me. I just learned this literally from TikTok's largest shareholder, which we met a couple of weeks ago. And I think in and of itself, they are the beacon of the future of what Instagram and Facebook started. TikTok Shop and Live is an extension of that. And it's a hyper-profitable segment of the business. Now, while it makes a lot of sense for you to go to TikTok to look at content, to buy your box breaks, to buy, what was the thing? Sambal, which is crazy, right? So millions in a couple of minutes. The truth is, we are coming very firmly into the age of hyper-categorization. So if you rewind back to Amazon in the early 90s, Amazon was hyper-focused on books, and then they went broad, right? They are everything. But if you look at where we are in the last 5 to 6 years, you've got people like StockX. Okay, now StockX is doing cards as well, but they focus mainly on shoes first, right? So in our case, while we may have sneakers, we may have trading cards, we have watches and all this stuff, we are firmly focused in collectibles first. Not to say that you can't sell a Seiko. There are grand Seikos which are worth, some money. and also very collectible. But we want to focus on the fact that we're targeting a very, 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 very focused segment. And they are people who don't want to go onto the platform and then suddenly see you selling, some Tewais Limau.
Yeah.
Unless it's signed by Messi or something, potentially yes, then it'll be collectible. Because otherwise, then I'm ostracizing my audience, because they are here knowing that, one, I've got people selling and buying stuff I want to look for. It's authentic, and at the same time, maybe get some entertainment value out of it. In that order, yeah.
So, I guess an extension of this would be the stickiness of the app, right? So, obviously, you're how old is Collector right now? 2 years?
A year and a half.
Right. So it's still early days,
Early
right?
days, very early days.
And it's of course, it's a continuous process. But what are some of the plans to make it stickier, where people get that dopamine hit? I mean, TikTok is a classic example,
Oh yeah,
right? It has replaced Netflix even.
the doom scrolling is real.
Yeah.
Right?
So how do you get people to doom buy? I guess.
No, so I think stickiness is a very, 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 very special formula. What, other than the fact that if you look at TikTok today, ironically enough, there was an invention called Vine 10 years ago. There was the 30-second videos.
Indeed,
that was
yeah.
essentially the original version of TikTok, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it, it wasn't live, but it was the short burst of dopamine. So today, I think what's really important is for us to also distinguish in terms of, first and foremost, what are we serving or what problem we're trying to solve. If we're trying to solve the problem of, hey, we're helping local game stores, we're back to trading cards here, because I have a physical game store myself that I open, right? For fun, but now became a business, to allow them to sell when no one's in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
Because how many game shops out there when you walk in, it's empty during the day?
Quite
Most of them
empty,
are,
yeah.
because people are working, right?
Yeah, it's only like weekends and tournaments.
Weekends, right?
Yeah.
So don't tell me they can survive on just 2 days a week of sales. And even then, when players come and play, not everybody will buy.
Mm-hmm.
They come play, they enjoy themselves, buy a couple of drinks or two and go back. So on the one hand, there's a big gap here because we can help solve that revenue issue for shops. So we onboarded quite a number of shops onto Collector that sells any number of trading cards. Pokemon, One Piece is huge, by the way, right?
Oh, massive, yeah.
And we're allowing these people to have revenue by not leaving the premise. So if they are streaming, then a customer walk in, because guess what? Most of these shops are one-man shows also. So I'm streaming midway, customer walks in, you got to literally go up, lion the customer, right? Okay, guys, I'll be back, sorry, right? We are allowing these shops an alternative form of revenue, but not selling something not within their expertise. I'm not going out to tell them, hey, bro, you're doing One Piece, go out there and sell comic books. No.
Yeah.
Still within your line of expertise, and you have the product already. And it's long tail for you. You've got products that have been unsold for months and years sometimes. I remember when we started this, we got one of our partner stores who basically had a number of aging stocks that weren't sold for a couple of years, clear them out in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
No, because of the fact that walk-ins generally don't want to buy long-tail products. Because if you're a player, odds are you want to buy the latest set because you want to play those cards in your deck. Collectors, they don't care. They'll buy all the way to the beginning because there's some card inside that's very expensive, or they're playing sort of eternal formats. If it's, every single TCG has a format that is non-rotating, right? So when you have an audience that's no longer restricted to your geography, because guess what? Local game store is called very much that, local. It is your local game store around your neighborhood. You are very likely to not travel beyond 10-kilometer radius because you're comfortable, the people there, the community is very close to your heart. What we've done I would love to say that it was an ingenious, plan that we had from day one. It was more of an accidental success because what we realized that when we launched the platform, we recreated the best parts about cracking packs when we were young. Because when you were young, you go to a shop, you crack pack, people around you were like, wow, you got this card. We've recreated that in a live stream. Wow, you got the hit card.
That's a good soundbite right there.
Yeah. Everybody's yelling and
The world can see you crack your packs and cheer for you, right?
Exactly. So one of our streams literally went viral globally because, Magic the Gathering had a collaboration with Lord of the Rings, right? A couple of years ago. So in every box, there was a chance for you to get a serialized card. Like X out of 100 or what that particular card like. And they would have 20 types of cards that you could get the serial. You're lucky to get one in every 6 or 7 boxes. That's the odds. For whatever reason, there was a glitch box, and that was on the stream.
Oof.
So the guy was cracking. Then the first serial came out. Everybody's like yelling, "Wow, you got a serial! It's $1,000 card, right?" Then he went on cracking. The last pack was another serial. So there was 2 serialized cards in one box. And everybody said Malaysia tipu lah. All the foreigners were saying, "No way, there were 2 serialized in one box. So you're lying lah." Send them the link. They saw the video. Like, holy crap, man! There was really 2 serials in one box.
Wow.
And we got that live. And the guy who cracked it will always remember that he got it there on stream, and it's immortalized for him.
Yeah, and collector is
Top of
part
mind,
of the
right?
story. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because otherwise you say, "Hey, this happened to me, last week." Yeah, right.
What's the word? Mind
Got proof or
share.
not?
No, that's the word.
Mindshare,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So it's more of an accidental value that we created out of having that. It's no longer of, "Hey, it happened." No, confirm I was there, bro. Hearsay lah, right? But this is literally got
Yeah.
proof. Yeah.
In terms of the products that you have now, what are some of the largest ones? Like the more laku ones, you know?
The most laku for us is still Magic the Gathering. Also because of the fact that we started with Magic because I had one of the largest collections of Magic cards in the
That was your
country.
passion, right? It's just a big passion. Right?
Passion, but also because I could flood the market with stuff that they haven't seen in years, right? Because I had cards all the way back from the beginning, and that sort of got people excited. So started selling it cheap, getting people excited. So in a way, onboarding users, right? But ever since then, everybody's in because of the fact that Magic in and of itself is a unique trading card, because while yes, you most likely not be able to make a profit, but if you crack decent enough cards, you'll be able to break even at minimum. Like you go one piece, right? You can go box after box after box and not make money, you know. But then suddenly kena manga, you cover like 10, 15, 20 boxes straight.
Yeah.
But the variance is insane. It is insane. Whereas Magic is not like that. Which is why I think Magic in and of itself, the community and the economy of Magic is very stable. It is in and of itself the largest and oldest card game in the world. Because of the fact that it has got that provenance, people don't want to buy here, ship it outside. So what we've done is, what's interesting is we've got a very interesting case study. We had one of our users who's been trying to sell. So Magic the Gathering released a 30th anniversary set. So if you all know Magic the Gathering, there is a social contract between Wizards of the Coast and the players.
Ah.
And the social contract was put into place about 25 years ago to state that they will never, ever, ever reprint the reserve list cards. So there was a set of few hundred cards that were reserve lists. Black Lotus, the Power 9 being one of, obviously the main ones, and other cards as well, which were randomly put in the reserve list, which no power, no value, but reserve. To celebrate the 30th anniversary, Wizards reprinted all these cards.
Ooh.
The Power 9 were reprinted, but the back of the card doesn't have the usual Magic back. It says 30th anniversary, which makes it a proxy, which makes it not legal for tournaments. Which technically means they did break the social, covenant, right? But everybody raised up their pitchforks and said, no, this is. Because the front looks indistinguishable. Yes, you put 30th anniversary there, but it looks, for all intents and purposes, a Magic card from the front. Who looks at the back of the card? You put it in the sleeve, what? So drama. So what happened was Magic then decided to say, okay, you know what? We'll keep to our promise. We'll destroy everything that we printed, except the ones we sent out to the shops already. All of a sudden, all these proxy cards shot up in price.
Ooh.
It was scarce.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm getting to the point why I'm raising the story is because we've got a user of ours, one of our strong users, been with us since the beginning, has been trying to sell his 30th anniversary Black Lotus. And he's tried it everywhere and has not been able to sell it. He gave it to us 2 days ago and he sold it already. Because at the end of the day, what's important for you as a seller is you want to be able to liquidate certain things so that you can keep buying into your hobby.
Yeah.
If you're, in the case of the Black Lotus, of course, he spent a lot less than what he got out of it, but your capital is tied up because you're not buying one pack. Sometimes you're buying 50, 60, 100 packs a month, right? Just trying to sort of, some of them do it as a hobby, some of them doing it as not even a business, like as a way to feel good, right? Hey, I made money, last month, right? And that's cool too, right? You do you. So we're proud to say that we've got the reach, we've got not a huge amount of provenance, but getting there.
Yeah.
People trust the
I mean,
brand.
it's a year plus only, right?
Yeah, it's a year plus.
But I mean, back to my question. So you have Magic the Gathering, and this is for all products, right?
I mean, in trading cards lah.
Or in trading cards. But I mean, sorry, on the wider view, you have comics. What are some of the top 3 or top 5?
If you look at the biggest revenue by number of transactions, will still be trading cards.
Okay.
So trading cards is still our biggest vertical. But if we're talking about biggest revenue in terms of pure revenue is watches. So
Makes sense.
routinely sell average watches, but we, in this month alone, sold a 300,000 ringgit Audemars Piguet watch, which the buyer couldn't find anywhere else. We found it for him in 24 hours. We are about to sell a Patek Philippe. So that's where we become into the lexicon of being really collectible, because...
Yeah. Do you have a different rate for each product, or they all
Yeah,
the same?
every vertical has a take rate, right? And we have 8 to 15% take rate. But for high-end products, of course, it really depends on the consignee, right? Primarily because of the fact that they don't have to sell to us, because we're not known as a watch platform yet. So more of, I need you, because with you on board and you're selling this for us, we get to ride on your provenance, then we can get more buyers and sellers. So for every vertical we launch, we need to start slow, right? We are very aware that, look, at the end of the day, we cannot grow without the support of the buyers and sellers. We are just the middleman here to connect. We authenticate, we help you source, we help you ensure that your payment is secure, and we there's no FFK here, right? But it is a lot of educational tasks involved to get both buyer and seller to say, okay, we trust this platform. We know that you'll take care of my money. We know that you're not selling me fake items. That takes a lot of education.
And time, actually.
And time.
Yeah. I mean, we're coming towards the end. I want to bring this up because I found it very interesting, and obviously, based on my very shallow research, everything is online, right? But recently, you had a collaboration with Uncanny Valley, right?
Did we?
Or did I get it wrong? Let me check. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe, not us.
No,
If the spelling is wrong, then it could be the US one. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, it might be the US one. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's with okay.
With a C, right? The collector with the K is ours, theirs is the C.
But then this one was with a Borneo artist.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You guys, right?
That's us, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
boleh buat, boleh. No,
Right.
Kenny Valley, it's punk rock sulap, right?
She is the founder, I believe.
Oh, she is, yeah. She's the main artist. of
Okay. Ceramics.
Ceramics, yeah. So punk rock sulap was the one that provided artists. She was the organizer, right?
Right. So, digital to physical, what was the thought process there? Is it just CSR or
so still digital.
there's more to it?
Still digital. So if you look at, okay, I like the fact that you brought art in. Malaysia has got a lot of very, very, very prominent artists, but we don't get the value that any of our compatriots outside of Malaysia gets for the prices, right? Dude, you could buy a piece of art that could cover the size of this wall. I mean, of course, you can't see. I'm pointing at a huge wall here. For 4,000 ringgit. Because he's a Malaysian artist. He doesn't have the provenance to sell at a high premium. There's no comps. So, for example, we had a number of artists literally spent their time and effort to paint ceramics and then give every single cent away to help light up a kampong in Borneo.
Yeah, and I think they raised nearly 40,000.
Yeah, we raised 38,000 ringgit in 30 minutes. And what's important, and we took nothing. We gave it all away because it was a point for us. I mean, one is I was moved by the fact that, come on, man. I mean, we live in a state, not state as Selangor, but state of life, that if no water for 1 day, you complain.
Oh, a few hours.
Right? These guys have never had electricity in their lives, dude. And they're Malaysians. I mean, look, if all we do is give a platform for them to raise money to light up, dude, I'm not the one carrying mega pipes to pasang. Dude, the guy who's doing it is 60 years old, man.
That's crazy.
He's not making any money. He was a Penang guy who moved there. He realized he needed to do some. He found purpose in his life.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not saying that. Yes, you should be doing the same thing. I'm saying that if he's doing it, the least we can do is support him. And he said that same thing to us. You don't have to go and help me carry the pipes. The fact that you're doing this is good enough. At least you're doing something.
So, I assume there's going to be a lot more than this, more of this kind of things. Like, did they approach you, or you guys were out looking for situations?
We've worked with Hannah, which is, of course, the Uncanny Valley founder, before. So this was the second collab we've done with her. We love working with her. She's a wonderful, wonderful artist. And she's very supportive of the scene as well. We're doing a major one end of the month with a major gallery in Malaysia, which we'll announce, of course, closer to the date. We are firmly going into art because I think
it's a natural extension, or you can say it's the traditional collectors. So we think collectors, we think art, right?
Okay,
and
so collectors, right? Okay, I like that because I learned this from some of the most prolific collectors around the world. Everybody goes on the same journey. Basically, the paperclip to the house. Have you read the book, Read Paperclip?
Yeah, I know, not the book, but I know they
Concept.
keep trading and trading
until you get a house.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So the collectible space is the same. You'll start with what you like. Okay, now I like something better in that space. Okay, let's say you start with a average Pokemon pack. You start playing. Okay, then you go out. Okay, then everybody wants that Charizard. As much as you can get that version of yours. Okay, you're done with card collecting. What do you go next? Okay, I go into watches, and you start the same route. You go from your usual ones you can afford, then you upgrade to two-door bit, which is a kind of a Rolex, right? And then you get a Rolex, and then you go up a bit more. You go up and say maybe now AP be expensive.
Now you get abbreviations like AP.
AP and all that stuff, right? Okay, but AP now is, funny enough, AP, see, a bit off tangent, but funny about AP is if you rewind it 6-7 years ago, the watch that nobody wanted is now 3 times the price. Back then, the ones that everybody wanted was a Royal Oak Offshore, the one that was famous by Schwarzenegger because it's big with a very sort of Geragenta design, you know. The average Royal Oak, you could get it, walk in and buy. Nowadays, nobody wants the offshore. The prices have not been growing up. It's been basically plateauing. Whereas the Royal Oaks, the traditional ones, have gone up 3x. Nobody knows how trends move, right? And that's
Exactly, yeah.
But what I'm getting towards is, okay, then you go from watches and then you go to fine wine. And then above fine wine, then you go to art. And when
That's
you're in
right.
art, you're a different stratosphere, right?
Yes.
So, yes, that is the sort of trajectory. And I'm of the understanding, or at least the impression, that you need money to buy art, right?
Yeah. I mean, the startup, the entry fee is very big.
But that's not true. When I think about it, or at least my co-founder has been telling me all the time, is the fact that the amount of money I spend on trading cards, I could probably buy a nice piece of art. And I think, I'm not trying to be snooty here, but there are moments, when I was young, I was like, this art speaks to me. I'm like, really? How does this speak to you, right? Until a piece of art speaks to you. And then you're like,
It's a
what
very
does this-
subjective, a real experience, right?
Like, what does this art speak to
Yeah,
me, right? It's
yeah.
sort of...
And nobody else gets it, but only you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you'll pay. Because it speaks to you. And you'll see it every day in your home or your office. You're like, I love it.
You know. So last questions. You just had your second. This is the second round of raising, right? So how can you whet our appetite? What's next? At least in the next 6 to 12 months.
So, of course, I've got not much hair to lose. We're hiring, of course, aggressively, bringing a bunch.
How big is the team right now?
The team prior to this round is about 9. I'm not full-time yet until this round, because I still hold my day job as the MD for Endeavour, but I'll be joining this full-time within the next quarter or so. But more than who's in the team after this, it's where we're going. So Singapore is a definite, it's a natural extension. That's not a surprise to anybody. But the market after that is interesting. Because in the collectible space, the biggest market for Asia, ex-China, ex-India, is Taiwan. And what's interesting is the fact that Taiwan, not only do they have the kind of wallet size to support it, they also have a very educated collectible buyer base. So if you look at Malaysia, if you buy something, let's say you see this all the time. Price is 100 USD. Bro, I'll offer you 60 US lah.
Yeah, there's a Malaysian discount.
It's a Malaysian discount.
In the TCG space, 100%. Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas in Taiwan, it's not the same. I don't know how they do it, but they can afford it, they can support it. And I think what's unique is, and this was informed to me by one of the investors that was supposed to participate in the round, the Taiwanese, but of course we will sort of look at it for the next one because we're rushing. I didn't know that the Taiwanese index, or at least the Taiwanese stock market exchange, is in the trillions of dollars.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was surprised. You would know, I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
look at
yeah.
Taiwan, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's huge. It's so much bigger than Singapore.
No, and they have something unique, which is that they are an Asian country that is...
They're not a country.
okay,
I
run away province.
I did that once, I did that once.
Run away Chinese Taipei.
Yeah,
Okay? Chinese
I
Taipei.
know.
Chinese Taipei province, right? The 32nd province.
There you go.
A certain red flag country, right? So, no. One thing very unique about the Taiwanese market is that it's an Asian market with pretty good corporate governance. In fact, they insist their companies to pay dividends, which is very rare for Asian companies, because the way is, I built the company, so I get to decide how the capital gets allocated. But there is an expectation to pump dividends out. And in fact, in Malaysia, we have, I don't know whether a dozen, but let's call it 10 Taiwanese companies, and they're all fantastic dividend payers. In fact, the company with the highest margin on Bursa Malaysia is a Taiwanese company, Uchi Technologies. They do coffee machine control systems.
Wow.
Like when you press the different things that you want, this brand Jura, Swiss brand, Jura. The control system is inside, the press. Yeah, so it's like 50% net margin after tax.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, and they pay out like 80-90% of that dividend. So the dividend yield, the price has gone up a lot, the stock price, but the dividend yield is like 6-7%.
Wow.
So it's like Maybank, but the price goes up.
Wow.
Right? So it doesn't stay at 9-10 ringgit all the time. So yeah, anyways, to your point, I guess that's where they have a very unique, maybe because of the American influence, maybe. So yeah, anyways, continue.
No, I mean, see, so case in point, right? Because of the fact that they are a mature market financially,
Yes.
something like this, collectibles in general. Okay, Hong Kong is the biggest place outside of the US and Europe for art. So the biggest, because of the fact they have free port. I think the issue with art is also because of the fact that a lot of it is tax-free and a lot of people sort of pass through big billions of dollars within art piece to art piece, right? So you can't be Hong Kong there, right? And I don't think in the next year or two we're going to go into super high-end art. Primarily because of the fact that that's something that I have very little experience in, and I'm not going to venture into something until I know exactly what it is and how to make it work fairly and equitably for everybody. For the next couple of years, at the very least, we're going to double down on pop culture, which is comic books, toys,
Funko
Pops, memorabilia, sneakers, right? Because sneakers is still pop culture. But they're buying AJs, man. AJs are what, 30-year-old shoes? It's still Air Jordans. Jordan hasn't been playing basketball for 10-15 years, man. And there has never been another shoe.
He's still receiving royalties. So
still receiving royalties, right? Which is funny, right? Why not make it another, Kobe never had a shoe. I mean, he did, but not the way Air Jordan,
So I'm going to guess you guys have worked with Sneakerla.
Yeah. So we're doing an event with them this year. I mean, hopefully, we were at SneakerCon as well. We work with SneakerCon, which is the global one, which is in Singapore. And I think we are friendly with everybody because of the fact that we're not here to spoil anybody's brilliancy, right?
Yeah.
We're here to expand the market. Allow more people who would come in and understand this space better, sell their stuff that they have been keeping in their houses for 25 years, and then go into something that they would like to invest in or buy into. Because just because you have magic cards you have for 25 years, doesn't mean you're complete, plebeian when it comes to the value. I've got guys who come, I will never forget this moment. I had a lady come in. So we always get a bunch of collectors come into the office and say, look, we've got collections to sell to you. And mostly it's usually males because by the virtue of trading cards, 90% of them playing in the shops happen to be males, right? So here it was, and my fault, right? Whenever you text someone on Facebook or message, you're like, okay, bro. It's like a normal thing we do in Malaysia. And the person never corrected me. So then we say, okay, I've got a bunch of dual lands, which are very, very valuable lands in Magic. I want to sell it off to you. Would you like to buy it off of us? I say, okay. So here I am coming to the office. And then one of my team members said, hey, there's someone waiting for you. Yeah, is he here? And then the guy said, no, it's a she.
Oh.
So I walked in and there's a lady with a bunch of Magic cards dated from 1994 era.
Is it from her husband?
See, exactly. That's misogynistic, man.
Yeah.
So exactly, I asked the same question.
I'm asking
your brother or...
I'm asking what the audience might be thinking.
Exactly.
It's not from me.
No, but she snapped immediately and said, no, these are mine. I played Magic when I was young.
Wait, so you actually asked her?
I asked her, are these yours or your brother's? Or so to be fair, her brother got her into Magic. But she played Magic. So what I'm saying is, and why I'm telling you the story is because she knew the value. She didn't say, here, take it for 10 ringgit here. She said, look, this is the price. I'm expecting this much, and I know you've got to make a margin because you've got to resell it. Are you okay? And we negotiated a deal. So what's interesting is you've got people coming out of the woodwork who prior to this would have to either sell it overseas, which is sad, because every time you sell something that's overseas, you completely zero out the Malaysian value chain. Because as a player, I want to buy it, then I've got to pay US prices. But there's no, other than selling it to shops. And I'm not blaming the shops for selling it overseas as well, because if I'm buying a card that's worth 1,500 ringgit, how many people can buy a 1,500 ringgit card?
Yeah, exactly.
It's no one's fault, really. So they buy it from you at maybe 1,000, 2,003, and then sell it off to another person at 1,500, 1,600 and make that margin and spread. So what we're trying to do is to try and keep these collectibles as much as we can within our ecosystem. So at the very least, among us, we can buy and trade and sell, and there's liquidity. For very, very high-end stuff, like the Black Lotus I told you we sold, unfortunately, no one in Malaysia wanted to buy it, so we had to sell it overseas.
Yeah.
But that is after trying. He tried to sell within Malaysia for 2-3 months. Not for lack of trying, right? So I think overall, if you look at it, what you want to have is, in the next 10-15 years, walk into a MCOT mall of sorts which I love because you can see all the kinds of
Oh, it's a different world. That place is a different world, yeah.
Yeah, people say, uncle selling Hot Wheels.
Smells different, looks different. The lights are not always the brightest, which is good enough.
1980s shopping mall. For me, I grew up in that kind of mall. I mean, the newer kids only know of the high-end malls of today, well air conditioned, smells like a hotel, right? What I would want is to be able to have a very, very robust ecosystem where you could say, hey man, I looked at it at Collector last week and we sold at this price. Can you pay me 90% of that price? We're no longer looking at some random price somewhere. You're not going to get lowball. Scan something immediately. Hey, this was sold.
And there's also an alignment, right? Because of the knowledge base that you guys have. And you're getting a cut from the seller. So you have an interest to make sure he gets a good price.
Yeah. Because the higher you sell, the better we make too, right? Because our margin goes up in terms of the net RM value or net dollar value, right? But overall, what we want to ensure is that nobody ever gets scammed the way I did when I was a kid. Or as an adult, really.
I think with that is a great end to the podcast. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thank you, MJ.
Adlin. Hope you enjoyed it as well.
I loved it.
Guys, look forward to the next podcast. Hope you enjoyed the first one. Any room for improvement, let us know. And of course, I know this is a very easy question to answer, but where can they find you or Collector?
So you can download Collector, which is spelled literally on my shirt here. C-O-L-L-E-K-T-R.
Make sure it's not C, but guys.
It's C at the front, but not at the end.
Yeah.
Correct, MJ. Download it. We are on App Store and on Android Play Store. And you can also download it from the website, which is collector.co. So hope to see all of you on the platform. We always do all kinds of fun stuff, fun sales. We do a lot of events as well. So happy to see you at any of the events we're doing over the next coming months.
All right. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.